Every dollar in your wallet is a promise. But in August 1971, that promise was quietly broken. Not by Congress, not through a vote, by one president in one weekend, behind closed doors at a remote mountain retreat. 15 advisors. No foreign governments notified. No public debate. And by Monday morning, the entire architecture of global money had been rewritten. Most people never understood what happened. But the consequences are still compounding in your bank account today. For nearly 3 decades after World War II, the dollar wasn't just paper. It was a legal contract. Any foreign government could walk into the U.S. Treasury and exchange $35 for 1 ounce of gold. This wasn't symbolic. It was enforceable. It meant the United States couldn't simply print unlimited money without backing it with something real. Other countries held dollars because they trusted that backstop. The entire global economy was built on this foundation. But by 1971, the foundation had cracks. Vietnam War spending was accelerating, domestic programs were expanding, and foreign governments were starting to notice something disturbing. America was printing far more dollars than it had gold to cover. France was the first to call the bluff. In 1965, President Charles de Gaulle began converting France's dollar reserves into gold, shipping actual bullion across the Atlantic. Other nations watched. Some began quietly doing the same. The U.S. gold reserve was hemorrhaging. In 1950, America held over 20,000 tons of gold. By 1971, that had fallen to less than 9,000 tons. Meanwhile, foreign claims on that gold exceeded $70 billion. The math was impossible. If even a fraction of those claims were presented at once, the vault would be empty. Richard Nixon faced a choice: honor the contract and watch America's gold disappear, or break the promise and keep the gold. On Friday, August 13th, 1971, he summoned his top economic advisors to Camp David. No press, no foreign diplomats, just 15 men in a secluded cabin. Treasury Secretary John Connally laid out the plan. Close the gold window immediately. Make it temporary sounding, but permanent in practice. Tell the world it's necessary to defend the dollar against speculators. Make it sound like strength, not desperation. That Sunday night, Nixon appeared on television. He announced a new economic policy: wage and price controls, import taxes, and buried in the middle, almost casually, one sentence: the United States would no longer convert dollars to gold. He framed it as temporary. He called it protecting American workers. He never said the words, "We're breaking our contract with every central bank on earth." The reaction was immediate confusion. Foreign governments were blindsided. Britain's ambassador was on vacation. France's finance minister learned from a news report. By Monday morning, global currency markets were in chaos. No one knew what a dollar was worth anymore if it wasn't backed by gold. Currencies began floating against each other, fluctuating by the hour. The Bretton Woods system, the stable monetary order that had governed the world since 1944, collapsed in 72 hours. But here's what most accounts leave out: this wasn't just a technical adjustment. It was a transfer of power. Before 1971, America had to maintain discipline. Printing too many dollars meant losing gold, which meant losing credibility. After 1971, that constraint vanished. The dollar's value would now be determined by faith, by momentum, by military presence, by oil contracts, but not by anything you could hold in your hand. And because global commodities, especially oil, were still priced in dollars, every country still needed dollars. They just couldn't redeem them for gold anymore. The U.S. had effectively written itself a blank check. It could now run deficits indefinitely, export inflation to other nations, and finance wars and spending without the old limits. Other countries held the dollars, but America controlled the printing press. The consequences unfolded slowly, then all at once. The 1970s saw inflation rates not experienced since the aftermath of major wars. Oil shocks, currency crises. The purchasing power of the dollar eroded month by month. Savings lost value. Wages couldn't keep pace. By the end of the decade, the middle class had been quietly taxed through inflation without a single vote in Congress. But the bigger transformation was in how governments operated. Debt exploded. In 1971, U.S. national debt was $400 billion. Today, it exceeds $34 trillion. Without the gold anchor, there was no forcing mechanism to stop. Deficits became normal. Stimulus became policy. The money supply could expand based on political, well, rather than physical reserves. Financial markets changed too. Currencies now fluctuated constantly, which created an entire industry of currency speculation and hedging. Fortunes were made and lost on exchange rate movements. Complexity increased. The simplicity of a gold-backed system, where value was tangible, gave way to abstractions. Derivatives, swaps, instruments built on instruments. The 2008 financial crisis had many causes, but one of them was a system where money itself had become detached from anything concrete. And here's the part that still matters now. Every time you see rising prices, every time your rent increases faster than your paycheck, every time you wonder why your savings account barely keeps pace with inflation, you're experiencing the echo of that August weekend. The removal of the gold standard didn't just change what money was. It changed who controlled the future value of your labor. It shifted power from savers to borrowers, from credibility to force, from hard limits to soft promises. Nixon's decision wasn't made in malice. It was made in desperation, under pressure, to preserve American power in the short term. But it created a system where money could be created at will, where governments could defer consequences indefinitely, and where trust replaced restraint. We're still living inside that experiment. No one knows how it ends because it's never ended this way before. The gold window closed on August 15th, 1971. It was supposed to be temporary. 53 years later, it's still closed. And every dollar in your wallet is still just a promise, backed by nothing but the belief that tomorrow, someone else will accept it too.